Welcome to the Sovereign Futures podcast. I am your host, Yvonne de la Flor. The Sovereign Futures podcast is a sharing space of transformational interviews, sacred teachings, power imagery processes, innovative futuring tools, and topics that can help you design and sculpt your desired futures into your now. Some of our podcasts will be translated into Spanish to bridge cultures where we share the journey of consciousness together. Welcome to the Sovereign Futures podcast. I am your host, Yvonne de la Flor, and this is the first time that I am recording a podcast. First, with one of my most beloved friends, woman, mirror, an incredible soul. I'm going to be reading her bio in a moment, but also I'm recording it in video. So I'm venturing. This is my first, my baby step into the video aspect of the podcast. And I'm super excited. So, but before I introduce you our guest, our beautiful guest today, which I believe anybody can learn from. I had an experience of being able to walk with her through 8 weeks, which multiply for 3 months or more, a little bit more, and learn about the power of grace, learn the power of wisdom and of maturity and of making decisions that are good for you and that are good, if they are good for you, for the community. But before that, a couple of messages first. Remember, Sovereign Futures podcast is a free philanthropic podcast. I am the sponsor of my own podcast, my company, De La Flor Teachings International, which is a spiritual-based leadership coaching consulting company. It's the one sponsoring it. We're also being produced by Ascend Media Productions. So we are being produced. I just want to pay tribute where tribute is due. My company, De La Flor Teachings. And we are about to begin to open up the podcast in other ways. So bear with us. We've been growing. We served the first year of this podcast, the Latin American market. The podcast used to be English and Spanish. So we will go for a long time, and I will translate live in the podcast into Spanish the wisdom of the incredible speakers and teachers and leaders and just human beings here with us. However, in Latin America, which is the family that we are serving this into, a lot of them ask the podcast to be in English. And myself, I had to take a break from Spanish, English, because I really wanted to have conversations with these leaders, with these teachers. And so this year is only in English. Perhaps in the years to come, or when my calendar opens up, I will open something only in Spanish, or maybe, just maybe, we'll reopen the Spanish-English kind of gig. Right now, it's all in English. This is the new format of Sovereign Futures Podcast 2021. And now, without more delay, I'm going to introduce you to my gorgeous. She's gorgeous. I mean, I really want you to be able to meet her one day. Physically, I'm a woman, and a lot of people say that women are jealous of each other. Me, I love to support women. I love to support the women that are honest. I'm going to be honest. It's just the human that are honest. It's not about women or men. But this woman, I tell you, she's gorgeous, she's sexy, she's smart, she's wise, and she's mature. So if you ever have the opportunity to check her out, and she'll be sharing with us. But she's really, really gorgeous, physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, every single area. And I don't say this about many people. This is my experience of her. So I'm going to read the bio of hers to you. I didn't memorize it. I don't know how all the podcasters do it. I'm going to read it. So my guest today is Veronica Villanueva. She discovered her why after being diagnosed with stage 4 cancer in 2016. She knows she's alive today to share grace, blessings, and the lessons that cancer has taught her. Her incurable disease gave her the gift of knowing herself, loving herself, and sharing herself with others in a profound way. See, she shared like that with me. I can testify that this is absolutely true. Through her work as a trained Cordon Bleu chef and certified health coach, Veronica aims to inspire others to embrace a holistic lifestyle built on a commitment to grow, eating healthy foods, taking the time to create memorable moments, and of course, fostering loving relationships. You can learn more about Veronica and connect with her through her website at www.veronicavillanueva.com. And we'll put everything in the description of the podcast. But, I have her here with us, and and I'm making sure that everything is working well since now we're live and we're on video, etc., etc. And Veronica, I'm going to hand the microphone to you and let's enter a conversation. We're calling this podcast The Grace of Cancer. That's a really strong topic and a beautiful topic. Tell us if there's something else you want to add on your bio, something else you want to say, just please hand the microphone and let's just go into the flow of this conversation.
Well, Yvonne, thank you for such an incredible introduction. It was so painful to be laughing quietly and silently. And I'm so proud of myself to be able to do that, because usually I like to laugh so openly. But wow, what an intro. And I am so blessed to have someone like you to really give that sort of an intro about me, and has nothing to do with ego, but it's nice to hear that, and it's nice to hear where I've been. You basically outlined my life in the last 4 or 5 years, and I just kept saying to myself, as you were saying, you were reading my bio and describing what I've been through, I thought, oh my gosh, often when I have these interviews, I will pause for a moment and actually forget that this person we're talking about is me.
Oh, wow, how powerful.
And rarely do I feel like we're talking about me until there is a question or a comment that that personalizes it and brings me back to, oh, this woman we're talking about is me.
That's very powerful.
Yeah, so I think I started to do that when I would enter the my Western oncologist examination room after knowing that I'm there for a reason, which is to get the interpretation of my scans. And I would often tell myself, first of all, I'm with one of my very, very good friend who's like my brother, Pete Torres, who always accompanied me to all my scans. And I would literally go inside and prepare myself and tell myself, Veronica, you're going in there with your best friends. Even you can be your own best friend. Be Veronica's best friend. Put the emotions aside. I'm not saying not to have them present, but put the emotions aside so that you can ask all the right questions, so that there won't be any emotions, because I still needed to be rational. I needed to be pragmatic. I needed answers, right? And so be Veronica's best friend and ask all the right questions that maybe, just maybe, she's too scared to ask. And that is how I was able to ask all the hard questions, by pretending to be Veronica's best friend. And so when I enter these interviews, automatically I almost feel like I'm representing Veronica, but I'm not Veronica.
Wow, Veronica, I gotta pause you there, because you're talking really spiritual, deep truths here. In the spiritual traditions, there is, we meditate and we're going through all of these inner quests to be able to do what you do, to be an observer, a witness of what is happening without identifying ourselves with the story, with the narrative, without becoming so vested in an identity that we forget who we are, and our ego then comes in place and suffers, right? Or tells us how great we're doing or how poorly we're doing. But you were able to create, like, kind of have your soul, yourself as your best friend. I'm writing notes like crazy. So this is my first video podcast, And I'm, people are going to see that I'm writing, but this is very powerful because the message you already is very few minutes. You are saying, be your best friends, be your best friend. And you were able to unidentify from that. Tell me something. So you begin to be your best friend. You begin to be, because facts matter. Being rational matters. There's a fight in the spiritual traditions of being rational is not appropriate. You got to be all feelings and intuitive, but facts don't lie. Facts give us results. Facts keep us really present in the moment onto what is and help us go where we want to go. So as you were being your best friend and you were able to be rational, so what happens? So you are diagnosed, you go as your best friend to receive all the answers. What happens next, love?
Well, I think when you go with that, with that kind of a mentality or your heart, and with that kind of level of consciousness, you're really in the moment, and you don't, because I think staying in the moment helps you take better care of yourself, allows you to hear your truth, allows you to hear your own truth. Because when you think about the past, so we're either thinking about the past or the future. Rarely are we in the moment. So I always tell myself, be in the moment so you can really allocate all your energy, all your focus in what the doctor is saying to you. Because it is important to educate yourself. When you are diagnosed with a disease, I always say, listen with intention and intently to the doctor when they're giving you your diagnosis. But close your ears when they start to speak to you about your prognosis. Wow. You do not need to hear.
Wow, this is so powerful, Veronica. I'm going to ask you to repeat it again because, I have a mentor, a teacher, a beloved friend of mine for many years. His name is Chick Morman. He is the founder of Personal Power Press. He wrote incredible books of the parent talk system. He's the creator of that. He has helped thousands and thousands of people on conscious parenting around the world in many, many years now. But he was diagnosed once upon a time with cancer. I don't remember, his throat or something like that. And I remember he has a story that says that he's an author of a great book called Self-Talk to Yourself. How do we talk to ourselves? And he went to the doctor, and he did a lot of personal work, just like you. He was really powerful with his words, very intentional, the intent of intentionality as you are sharing. And when he went to the doctor, he educated the doctor with this. The doctor said to him, well, your tests come free of cancer. He was able to get out of something that supposedly he was not going to be able to free. And he said to him, if you are free of cancer in a year, then I will declare you totally free of cancer. And my teacher, Chick Morman, stopped him, talking about intention and intentionality of the words and what you want to hear. And he educated him. He said, doctor, you don't talk to me that way. You don't tell me if. You're going to tell me when. It's happening. I see it. You got to be in my team. You got to be with me. So this reminds me of what you're saying, like, be intentionally, speak your words, but then don't allow the diagnosis to go through you. So tell me more about that. This is so powerful.
Well, I think it's very important, as my book, as what I've written in my book, chapter 4 was on education. I think it is so important to listen to the diagnosis of the doctors, right? We need to really pay attention because, they've studied, they're doctors, they know about the disease. However, they're not God. They don't get to tell you or anybody else how much time you have left here on this planet. So that's why I said, plug your ears. You do not need to listen to the prognosis. Listen with intention to hear and learn about your disease, which is the diagnosis. But when it comes to being given a death sentence,